with Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. The speakers today are myself, Caroline Vargas. I'm your account manager here. And we have Sherry Ibbotson. She's our consultant here at MIG. Great. For audio controls, you can choose your mic and speakers, and to use your computer speakers, well, you can also use your computer speakers and your voice. To choose the telephone, you can dial by using the information provided at the bottom, and you can see that as well. For questions, so in order to submit your questions and comments, they can be submitted via the question panel, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Okay, so we'll go over the agenda. The agenda about us, Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 overview, system-wide, web client, business intelligence, financials, distribution, live demo, and as I mentioned, a Q&A session at the end. Okay, so about us, MIG, who we are experts in the implementation and support of leading financial and businesses applications from Microsoft. Our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics GP, Microsoft Dynamics SL, and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We have been in business since 1998, and we assist organizations streamline their business processes and maximize their productivity. Certifications, we'll go over these. We are a Microsoft Gold Certified Partner, and we are recognized by the Microsoft Business Solutions as a premier ERP VAR. And you can get your CP credits. If you guys are interested in getting that, we'll be able to email that by the end of the session as well. Okay, Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, the overview, and I'll just hand it to Sherry. She's going to move forward with that. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Sherry Ibbotson. I'm a Dynamics GP certified consultant for MIG. Today I'm going to be just discussing some of the new features of the GP 2015 application. And so we're going to go ahead and start. They've added a number of features that are both comprehensive, simple, flexible, and powerful. Those features include such things as improvements to the web client, such as a single sign-on. The web client is the internet-based version of Great Plains, and the users can connect to that from anywhere in the world through a web browser. There's some additional controls that have been added. We'll discuss those. There's also some improvements to the service-based architecture. That's primarily focused around the use of GP across multiple platforms and cloud-based platforms. That's more of an IT-focused discussion. And there are some improvements with productivity as far as improvements to the home page and the area page enhancements, the ability to select the printer when you're actually printing the reports instead of having to predefine your printer when you log in. You can also, there's some improvements over setting the default views for the lookup windows. There's also the document attach feature that lets you you can scan documents into a shared location on your server and attach those documents to payables. Example, a scanned payables invoice you can attach to the payables transaction entry window and have that remain attached, the scanned document remain attached to those invoices. There's some Smart List user interface enhancements that those of you who've been working with GP 2010 who have not upgraded to GP 2013 even yet, you'll find these features they've added to the Smart List quite refreshing. You also have a new ability to assign SSRS reports directly to the windows instead of having to launch them through the navigation panes. There's also the replacement for the Smart List Builder. If once you upgrade to GP 2015, if you're on GP 2013, you've already converted over to E1 Smart List Builder. If you have not done that and you're on GP 2010, when you upgrade to GP 2015, you'll have to change your licensing. You'll either have to convert over to E1 Smart List Builder, or you will be able to use the Smart List Designer tool. That's similar to Smart List Builder, but now it comes with GP. And they've included a special table finder tool that allows general users to look up different tables in the system based on Windows. Makes it a lot easier. There's a number of other features such as reopening closed years, journal entry enhancements, intercompany enhancements. They've added a few additional workflow enhancements, and the powerful business intelligence that they're referring to here. You're able to deploy a mobile-based application onto a Windows phone, onto a Microsoft Surface if you have a Surface tablet, iOS tablet, Android-based devices, and you can carry that device with you, and you can also see Management Reporter reports deployed to that device. So that requires a little bit of additional configuration to enable that, but it's quite useful. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide here. Some of the features have been added here. We're just going to discuss some of the items in a few screenshots before I show you a live demonstration of the GP 2015 application. Once again, the system-based enhancements for GP 2015 are the copy homepage settings. That's referring to the user setup. This is usually only performed by individuals who are administrators with the GP application. It allows you to copy all of the settings for a particular user, including the homepage settings, the quick links, business analyzer, their security roles. You can easily copy those to another user. What some companies do is they'll create a master user for a particular subject, such as the accounting department or accounts payable, and they'll utilize that particular user when they add new users. So typically you have some turnover in accounts payable and accounts receivable departments. So having that master user defined, or a particular user defined that you'll use for the copy is going to make it a lot easier for your IT team to manage. Some of the other features that have been added are the navigation integration for the Management Reporter. Currently launching the Management Reporter from GP 2010, or I'm sorry, GP 2013 requires you to go outside of the application. They've added the Management Reporter reports to the navigation pane in the GP 2015, the most recent service pack of GP 2015, and that allows you to actually launch the Management Reporter reports inside of GP using the navigation pane. Some of the additional features that have been added to the web client, and for those of you who are not familiar with the web client is the internet-based version of GP. It's a light version. It doesn't have all of the features of the desktop version of GP that you're familiar with. And over time, they're adding new features to that web client. One of the best features they've added is project time and expense, and the time and expense self-service piece that allows your users to enter their time sheets for payroll or for the project series directly through that web client, which can be exposed through the internet. Your users securely through the internet, your users would be able to connect to that web client and enter their time sheets. They'd be able to manage their payroll data as well. They'd be able to see information regarding their payroll setup inside of GP. And they've also added the invoicing module to the web client and the Canadian payroll. This session is going to be focused on the US-based version of GP, but I will show you a couple screenshots on the Canadian payroll. And the business intelligence improvements are the Business Analyzer R7. As I mentioned earlier, that can be deployed on Windows-based devices such as Surface. I have Surface and it looks great on there. And Android devices, mobile phones, Galaxy phone, just about any mobile device. You can download a piece of code from the Windows Store and that will deploy the application. And I'm going to show you a little screenshot of what that looks like. Also, you'd be able to see a management report or reports on that analyzer, and you can also, part of the business intelligence is the refreshable Excel reports created from the SmartList Designer, which is what replaced SmartList Builder for Dynamics. And I'm going to show you one of the refreshable Excel reports. I wanted to mention the refreshable Excel reports can be deployed to a shared location on your server. And what this does is, if a particular user doesn't have access into GP, they can actually open one of the Excel refreshable reports and they'll see the most current data from the GP application in Excel. A lot of users are very familiar with Excel and Microsoft Office, and sometimes they prefer to see, the latest bank data or other data from within Excel as opposed to actually logging into GP to do an inquiry. I'm going to show you an example of a very nice refreshable report that shows a number of data points, including pie charts and what have you. And under the financials series, there's some improvements to the intercompany. The intercompany now allows you to see, using the inquiry, you can see both sides of the entries in both of the companies that you've generated the intercompany entries to. This is a new feature. In the past, you could not tell what the audit trail code was from the other company that you posted the entry to. And also, you now have the ability to void an entry, an intercompany entry in the originating company. And when you post that, it will automatically update into the destination company. I'll show you a little bit about that feature. There are some payment terms enhancements. Namely, they've added some additional fields. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on payment terms. That's, most companies, their payment terms are pretty simple, but there are some enhancements that you may find useful. You can actually set payment terms that are annual, maybe for long-term agreements that you have with some of your clients. And there's also a fixed asset year-end close report that they've added. So when you perform the fixed asset year-end close, you actually get a report now that shows you the net book, and that's something that you can set aside and keep that as a record of the fixed assets, how they looked at the very end of the year, so you can use that as a tie back to your general ledger. It's very useful. And there's a section on editing the email for historical statements. Typically when you send out statements, you may or may not resend those statements, but there is a feature in here that does allow you to group multiple documents for your customers together and send them to somebody different than the email settings that you have for that customer. And you can email a payables remittance. I'm just going to show you a couple of screenshots on that. I'm not particularly going to demonstrate that, but we're going to go also onto here. Let's look at the distribution. Once again, in the distribution series, they have it listed to edit the email for historical documents. One of the best features they've added is to the payables warn purchase, open purchase order, and that can warn you if you have a purchase order when you're receiving or matching an invoice that you have unposted receipts and what have you. And there's a number of other features that we'll be discussing too. They actually added, since GP 10, they've added over 120 new features to the GP application. So if you're upgrading from, let's say, GP 2010 to GP 2015, you're going to see a lot of those new features that you've never seen before, such as reopening closed years and There's also one I wanted to mention that's not on this list. You can have the system automatically create bank receipt deposits from cash receipts. In the past, you've had to actually go in and create a bank deposit. There's a setting in here now that lets you automatically add those cash receipts to bank deposits. So let's go ahead and move on to next slide here. So we're just going to look at a few screenshots here that we have on our PowerPoint as part of this demonstration, just to give it a look and feel of some of these features. So we're going to look at the copy homepage settings, the navigation integration for MR, and some of the management reporter integration options. The first feature that they've added, this is mainly used by IT team and or the GP administrators, is the ability to copy the home page and area pages from one user to another. If you have never seen GP 2015, you know, this will make more sense once I show you the GP 2015 application and the area pages. You're able to move the menus around on the area page and add a number of other items that you were not able to add in the past. And so then it becomes quite useful to be able to copy this homepage content to other users. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my laser pointer here. So we have user ID Brian. He's a new person that we've added. And so I want to copy from another user ID. I can just select that user ID and then I can select homepage role, homepage content, area pages, which I'll show you what those are shortly. You know, I can copy it from a particular user as well and then copy it to this username. There's also features added to the user setup that are not shown here, which I'm going to show you. You can add self-service users, which are light users, which require a light user license, which is not equivalent to a full user. And those self-service users are typically used for your payroll, your employees when they're entering timesheets using the web client. And so those features were added to the user setup, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that a little later. And here's a little screenshot of the navigation to the management reporter. And you can see that some of the MR reports are added here. We have this 12-month trend income statement default, and there's path, and you know, depending on how you have management reporter configured on your system, you see a different path here. But you can just, when you engage this process, you can go ahead and you'll see a list of your management reporter reports, and you can view, edit, and create management reporter actions. So you'd be able to have some control over your MR reports. Of course, with the management reporter, you're going to gain the most control by actually opening the management reporter a designer tool. That's where you do most of your management reporter functions. And in the viewer, that's where you can create your charts and whatnot. So, but this allows your users internally to run the management reporter reports within here. And they're going to see what they are allowed to see based on the management reporter security configuration. So let's go ahead and look at the next slide. And we're going to talk a little bit about the MR integration options. In the past, if you had analytical accounting enabled on Dynamics, when and this happened all the way back even with FRX, you would have some additional features that had to be added to both FRX and MR to enable the analytical accounting reporting, and you had to enable it if you had it enabled in GP. In GP 2015, you can choose not to enable the analytical accounting for a company that does have it installed within GP. For those of you who use analytical accounting, this will make more sense to you than others. I just wanted to let you know that feature's here. You can also select now from within the company setup to enable the management reporter application. You might have some companies that are built for test companies that you don't want to enable the management reporter for. regardless of whether or not you mark this setting, if you have to do a restore, and this is an IT subject here, you have to stop the management reporter services because they're attached to the Dynamics databases, or the the Dynamics system database. So regardless of whether this is marked or not, if you didn't have it marked, you would probably have to stop those services to do a restore and a test. And so at any rate, you can choose whether or not to enable it, but the greatest feature here is this. You have Management Reporter. Let's say you have 30 different companies that you run inside a GP. And you find out today, I have to create a new company and I need to copy my settings from one company into this new company, and I need to enter some journal entries. Maybe it's for elimination, maybe you have some reports you have to get out today. So if you run through the GP company setup, you can go ahead and click this button or mark this box, enable general ledger reporting, and it will immediately add it into the Management Reporter. And you can start reporting on that company now. You don't have to go through the whole process of adding the company through the console for MR. So this is quite useful. This is also the window that's used for setting whether or not you want cash receipts to be automatically deposited. I'll go ahead and I'll show you that when I show you the live demo. And I mentioned about the web client. They've added the invoicing module and the Canadian payroll. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a few screenshots of that. I don't actually have the web client deployed for this demo, mainly because this demo is only an hour, so we really wouldn't have enough time to cover that. But I'm going to go ahead and show you screenshots here to give you an idea of what you'd see. So you can see that the invoice entry has been added. This is the invoicing module. This is not sales order processing. Sales order processing module has a greater depth and breadth of what you can do as far as the distribution series is concerned. But a lot of companies do use the invoice entry window or module to process their invoices. And so they've added that module here. You can see it looks very similar to the desktop client for Microsoft Dynamics. And you have the options. Of course, you can create your batches, and you could drill back into the customers, and your typical features such as the items and what have you. And so you can go into the customer detail entry and the item detail entry. So that's something that's been added. There's also the Canadian payroll web client, which is very nice. This is new. They've added it here, and you can process, you can set up your employees here. You can manage the employees' accounts. That's also managed through self-service. You can create, your deposits. You can set up pay codes in here. You can perform your Canadian payroll reporting, and of course, you can see that there's a project button here. I'm a project consultant, so all of my demonstrations have the project series enabled. At any rate, the project button allows you to set up particular employees within the project series for allowing you to have them enter time for a particular project. So this is also a nice little screenshot of what the web client looks like, and for those of you who've never seen it, you immediately notice that it does have a different look and feel. There's no menu bar on the top. You can see that this is launched from an internet browser. So there's no menu bar on the top. The navigation is performed by use of area pages. You can see home, financial, sales, purchasing. These open what they call area pages, which I'm going to show you. This human resources and payroll area here, that's what an area page is, and it contains all the menu items for a particular area. So let's go ahead and move to our next slide. I had mentioned before about the Business Analyzer. I'm going to show you a little screenshot of that, and so that you can see what that looks like. It's really nice if you're using GP 2013 R2. You can go ahead and even after a call, you'll be able to go download that. They've made improvements to the Business Analyzer with version R7. that just improves the functionality of that, but that was also available in the prior version. And then the refreshable Excel reports that are in SmartList Designer. So let's go ahead and go to the next page. Here's what this Business Analyzer app looks like when you download it. Let's say if you have a Surface, I have a Surface tablet, you download the Business Analyzer, you're just going to the store, and it's free. And you download that, and you connect it to your system through like a VPN type of connection. And this is an example of the types of data that you'd see, and it refreshes every so many minutes, so it's quite useful. And they also call this cross-platform, meaning that you can run it on a Galaxy, a Windows. It's not just Windows operating systems. You can run it on Android devices and what have you. Another nice feature is the support for the management reporter content, and that's it's a nice feature as well. So that is a subject all within itself. There's a number of other demonstration videos that have been generated by Microsoft directly that show the use of this application in greater detail. Let's go ahead and go to our next slide. And the SmartList Designer, I mentioned, that designer is the replacement for the Microsoft Dynamics GP SmartList Builder. That was when you upgraded to GP 2013, you had to either move to E1 SmartList Builder to maintain your objects that were created in SmartList Builder, or you had the option of moving to the Designer. And the SmartList Designer has been, they've added additional functionality into the GP 2015 version. Your SmartList Designer or Builder objects need to be analyzed to determine if any additional objects need to be updated during the upgrade process. And your partner, either if we're your partner or you have a different partner, you should make sure that they go through your SmartList objects if you're coming off of GP 2013 to ensure that they migrate to the SmartList Designer properly. So they've added a new functionality here, and you can see it looks just like the SmartList, with the addition of adding a new button that allows you to open a window that you can add SQL. If you have some SQL views, there's a number of SQL views that are available that you can have your IT team add to your SQL server, and then you'd be able to add those views or inquiries into the SmartList tool using the SmartList Designer. You can just paste the view right in the Designer, and then it just works. It's really easy to do. If you're interested in more information on that, you can always send us an email if you have some information on that subject. And you can also build Excel refreshable reports. Every single SmartList object that comes with GP can be deployed as an refreshable Excel reports. I'm going to show you a few of those. But this is more of a technical, the use of the SmartList Designer is more on the technical side. So if you have a person that does development, or maybe you have a person at your company that focuses on report design and development, this is a tool that they would want to look into in greater detail. And we offer training on the SmartList Designer tool as well. I just wanted to let you know about the new features. So let's go ahead and go to our next slide here. So some of the features that were added to GP 2015's financial series I spoke about earlier. I'm just going to reiterate the intercompany enhancements, which I'm going to show you a little bit about that, but I'm going to show you some slides for the payment terms, the fixed asset year-end close, and a little bit about the emails for historical statements. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about intercompany. With GP, you're able to create journal entries, and post those across or payables entries. Here's an example of a payables entry. So let's say I'm purchasing some printer paper on behalf of customer B or company B, and I'm company A. So I'm company A, and I go into accounts payable. I enter my accounts payable invoice from my paper supplier, and then what I'm going to do is on the other side, when I enter the journal entry of the distribution for the payables, I can actually use the intercompany to open the general ledger chart of accounts in a different company. So the accounts payable side would be in my company A, and the expense would appear on company B, company B's P&L statements, and the system automatically generates due to, due from entries when you post these. Now, in the past, well, that feature is great. It's a wonderful feature. It was limited in that you couldn't see the audit trails in the destination company, and so they've added those fields to the intercompany journal entry inquiry. And the other feature they've added is the ability to void the intercompany transactions and actually have them void across the companies. Now you can, if you have 30 companies, you could effectively create entries, maybe a GL distribution that would hit all 30 companies, and the system has the capability of handling that, and it does work with multi-currency as well. So if that's something you're curious about, they've made a number of enhancements here. So let's go ahead and go to our next slide. I discussed some of the improvements to the payment terms. They've just added some additional information that allows you to create more complex payment terms in the system. You can set specific dates, add months. You can add days to your transaction date, 5 days after, that type of thing. Next month, and you can actually add a year. So here's an example of the payment term setup that they've added to GP 2015. You have the due date options using the transaction date. So you have the calculate days from transaction date. You can add days. You can say due end of month. And you can see the discounts for a year. If they pay once a year, well, that would be an interesting discount to get that. So they've added additional discount options, and these payment terms are available to both the sales side of the system and the purchasing side of the system, so to customers and vendors. And so usually these are set up by your accounts payable manager or your accounts receivable manager. They're the ones who maintain these windows here, and so these are going to make a lot more sense to those users because they work with it every day. But at any rate, you have the different options of adding next month, month and day, and annual. Just want to kind of show you that payment term setup window. And you can process this calculate button so that you can actually see when the document would be due if you were to, once you create this payment term. Because a lot of times you'll create a payment term and then you'll actually process an accounts payable or accounts receivable document. And for some reason, the due date is not the date that you expected. So using the calculate button actually lets you see what the date would be. So that's a nice feature there. Let's go ahead and move on. So I mentioned before about the fixed asset year-end closing report. In the past, when you closed the fixed assets, you didn't get a report. And it's pretty difficult to determine what the net book was without generating the actual net book reports before you ran the year-end close. As we all know, the reconciliation of fixed assets back to the general ledger has always been a daunting task for accounting people on all ERP applications. And so it's imperative that when you run the year-end close, you have a document that proves out the net book value as of the year-end close date for the fixed assets. So This report's quite useful. It has the asset ID, the description shows the last time it was depreciated through the cost basis, which is the original cost basis, the year-to-date depreciation, and the accumulated depreciation. So this report really has it all. I don't know what other fixed asset report makes more sense than the netbook report that this presents here. So let's go ahead and move on. We have 20 minutes left, so try to keep it brief. So here's some of the improvements that were added to the distribution series in GP 2015. You can edit email for historical documents and sales. I have a couple of screenshots here to show you on that subject, and that's useful if you have company contacts you and says, you know, we need you to resend us 5 of these sales invoices, and it's for the controller is requesting those outside of the accounts receivable team. For some reason she wants to see them or he wants to see them. So you can go in and you can edit the email address and then go ahead and email them multiple sales documents directly from GP. Same with purchasing. And the payables warning when open purchase orders exist. So let's go ahead and I'll show you that. So here's the edit email for historical documents window. And we have a document that clarifies the configuration of this. If you don't have the email configured for Dynamics Now, you're not going to be able to actually even see these windows. They won't open. So this is, you would need to have the actual email system configured with the PDF writer so that you can email the documents in PDF. But so we'll just show you a little bit about the window. It's under the sales email detail inquiry. You could go ahead and select the email. You can also control the message ID in here. So when they're saying edit email, what they're referring to is the email message that you're sending along with the documents. That's what they're referring to. So of course you can never edit a transaction that's already been posted in GP. So the only type of edit that you could do is using the payables edit that allows you to change the due date and information like that. So you can see here the email is added and you can have a reply sent to. Let's go ahead and go on to the next piece here. And this also works with the sales email detail inquiry. And the payables warning when PO open, that's a new warning message that was added when you're entering a purchase order processing transaction for a vendor with an outstanding or uninvoiced receipt. And if you're using purchase order processing, this is quite handy. To have this so that you know that it's there, but it will not prevent the user from continuing to create an invoice against a purchase order that hasn't been received. So let's go ahead and move on. So that covers the screenshots, and a lot of the screenshots were covering features that are not easily demonstrated through this form. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a little live demo of GP right now. Let's go ahead. I'm logged into the GP 2015 application. As you can see, if you're from GP 2010, if that's what you're currently on, the interface for GP 2015 is a little different. Even if you're on GP 2013 R2, which would be the most recent version that you'd be upgrading from, you're going to notice some differences here. Now with this I can move things around. I can move this over here, I can move this over here. I can see I don't really want to see that, move it down here. You can also customize this page. You can add PS time and expense, project time and expense. To the front there's a business analyzer, which you have in GP 2013 as well, and you can select the different details. There's a number of analyzer reports. The business analyzer that you would deploy to, let's say, Microsoft Surface or your Windows Phone. These are some of the available reports that you would be able to see there. You can just select those. And here you can also select where you want your column stack. In the column stack here, let's say if I put it on the bottom. Go ahead and click OK here. Notice how the stack goes to the bottom. Maybe some users might want to see it there. And so all you have to do is just double click on that, open that, and that brings you to your reminders. Now a lot of people are tired of just seeing that every time they open GP, so you can close that. You can go ahead and move that down here. Let's say you just want to have your quick links. So you can customize this page to move just to the right. And so that's a nice little feature there. And so let's talk about, since we don't have a lot of time, let's go ahead and just cut to the chase and go straight to some of the new features you're going to find the most useful here. Well, the main features list the home page and area features, which I just showed you now, which you can do customize this page. You can add or remove different content to display. This is the content that when we're talking about copying the users over, these are the types of things you'd be copying. You could also change your role down here. You could click this arrow here and you can add quick links. See my quick links here, I've added my GL, all year detail, my PM, all in one view. So you can go ahead and using this quick links detail right from your customized homepage, you can add Dynamics GP window. You can just select, so maybe there's a certain thing that you always have to do. You can select inquiries, so you can really fine-tune this. You can add your help to there. You can add a whole navigation list. So you want to have all of the field service or all of the purchasing, you can add that. And you can add a web page. So all you have to do is put the web page address in there. So you can access that. And you can add an external program or file, which I have an example of that with the auto refresh financial dashboard. But you just browse out to your file. Here's some of those, oh, here's some of those refreshable Excel reports. So put this one right here. So you say, example, Excel. And you can see it kind of adds it to the bottom. And you can move those around. So that's something that you can get right from this arrow. If you click this to-do page, to-do arrow, you can add reminders and GP tasks. So let's go ahead and just click OK on that. So the other thing that I want to talk about here is when you're printing a document. If you go to Inquiry, Financial, Summary, let's see that I want to click Print here. Notice when I selected the printer, this is phenomenal. If you've been using GP for some time and you haven't upgraded recently, you can now select the printer when you print a document. So I could add the printer. I could say I want to send it here to my XPS, whatever. You can have PDF in there, a type of thing. So this is a new feature. You can select the number of pages. In the past, you had to actually use the printer that was set up when you logged into GP. You didn't have the option to do this, and this is available from all the print windows. You'll see it when you actually click the print button. So that's a new feature here. And some of the default views and the lookups, so if I click on the lookups here, you can add a smart list favorite, and you can use that as a lookup. So if I click here, I want to have us have enough time for us to have a Q&A session, so I'm going to keep this brief. But you can add your favorites. So if you have a particular favorite that you want to use, so now I'm using my smart list favorite, and so you can save those. You can actually add additional sorts and what have you. So that's a new feature that's added. The document attach feature, which gives you the ability to attach scanned documents. There's a setting that's in the system, and I've added this down to the bottom here. So if we go, here's the document attach setup. This is it's under the administration window. You can attach documents from a scanner. You can define the default location and delete the documents after you attach them. Seem to be speeding up. That would be because, the path is invalid. Okay. At any rate, cancel that. So I already have mine set up. Let's go ahead and go here. I'm going to show you how this works real fast. Purchasing, transaction entry. accounts payable. And let's say I want to attach a document here. I can select attach. This is the document attached. If I had a document scanned, or if I want to attach a spreadsheet, I can go here and go, oh, I'd like to attach this refreshable Excel spreadsheet, and you can mark to have it flow through and attach documents to email. You can preview it. That would open the spreadsheet. It's trying to open it right now. And you click OK. Now, when you click attach, you'll see the documents here, and then you can preview the document, and it opens it. Oh, I have an Excel refreshable report. So amazingly enough, you could have it open the Excel refreshable reports from in there. So let's just click save there. So that's one of the new features here that's added is the document attach. I have only about 10 minutes left, and we started a little late, so I'd say that I have about 15 minutes left. So I'm going to try to go through these other things as quickly as possible. I wanted to show you the all-year detail on the GL inquiry. This is also something that's quite useful. So in the past, in GP, you would have to open up the historical inquiry window. Now you can select the years inside of here. So that's a really nice new feature for those of you who've been using GP for a number of years. But as far as the drill back, it's the same. Now they have added the intercompany so that now you can actually view intercompany entries from inside of here. There's an intercompany button, so that's going to be readily available when you upgrade to GP 2015 if you're using intercompany. Let's go ahead and close that. And let's see, some other good ones here. Let's say that I want to have a particular report that always opens when I open this window. Maybe that one's not the best one to add here. Let's go into cards, sales customer. Here's the available reports. You're going to see on the windows in GP 2015, there's a number of new features that are added to the top of the windows. Available reports. You can actually assign SSRS reports, which I don't know if that many of you are actually using or not, but you can add selected reports to these various windows, and then when you open the window, this particular window, you can click that and it opens the SSRS report for that particular customer. That's a phenomenal feature. And so these are things that we can help you with, or your partner should be able to help you with that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's see, ability to sign. Let's go ahead and let's look at the smart list here. I have a smart list. Okay, so here's our smart list, and this is new here, except for what's nice is when you, in the past, if you select this, now you see that it minimizes the window, so now you're just seeing your actual report. You could click Excel and generate Excel refreshable reports from here. The search is very similar to the other version. There's some options that you can set. You can show hide favorites pane and enable auto hide. What that does is if I select this, let's go here, then it won't auto hide. So these are features that are down here under the favorites pane. And you can actually increase width. So if I want to, and what this is referring to is, I have a number of these in here. What this is referring to is, here, notice how you can't see this. Sometimes it gets cut off. You can just right click and go increase width. So that's something that's new. It's quite useful. And then, of course, the Smart List Designer is accessible directly from this window here, and I have Smart List Builder coming up, so we're running out of time anyway, so I'm going to forego that. But you can start the Smart List Designer from directly in the Smart List window. Okay, I want to show you the Smart List, the Table Finder under Tools. You're going to find a new feature called Table Finder. Users love this. So you can go in and select, let's say that you're working with field service example. You could say inventory, and you could select this field. I'd like to know where the end item number is. And so What this does is it'll show you, you can select a field name and click search. You could say, I don't know, whatever you could select it. But at any rate, this table finder is added to GP 2015. You can go ahead and go about this window, and it explains to you in greater detail how to use this table finder. Running out of time here. Okay, so now those of you who are in the accounting department know that running a year-end close is something that you have to do every year. And so let's go ahead and look at the year-end close. Look at tools, utilities, financial, routines, financial. The other features which you've probably used in GP 2013 are reconcile to GL. You also have the ability to use the reconcile to GL for bank reconciliation and inventory. And this creates a nice refreshable report here. And for those of you who have never seen this, I'm just going to generate that real fast. And this is the type of report that it creates. It shows you the match between the general ledger and the actual transactions that were posted to the general ledger. What some companies do is they'll generate these reconciliations to the GL for AP, AR, bank rec, and inventory at the month end. Makes it a little easier. You can keep that with your closing entries. And for those of you who haven't used it, jumping around here, I'm trying to make sure I show you some of the best features. Financial General. There's a paste feature in here that allows you to paste journal entries into the, I'm just going to show you. Let's see. Oh. Okay. Transactions, Financial General. So I can come in here and see test and go here. I have a little Excel sheet. All you have to do is have a spreadsheet that has description, account, debit, credit. You highlight this, hit copy, go here, put your cursor here, hit paste. Bingo. So that's how you can paste from the Excel into GP directly. It only works in the transaction entry window for general ledger. Sometime in the future they may add additional windows. So, and then of course you still have the, the copy and correct. Those are features that were in GP 2013. And I didn't have a batch. I have a batch, so let me just delete this. Okay, let's see. We've covered that. For those of you who've been using GP for some time, you're probably familiar with the professional services tool. That is now included in GP 2015 on the main menu. This tool has things such as the account modifier, lets you combine and change your general ledger account structure. There's checkbook modifier. You also have fiscal period. General ledger master triggers lets you trigger if you create a GL account in one company, it'll trigger that GL account to be created in other companies. You can have vendors that are created in one company and the master trigger will create those vendors in other companies. There's also features that have been added that allow you to rename your customers and vendors, rename the ID, merge and combine vendor accounts, so you can clean up your vendor accounts and merge and combine customer accounts. And let's see. And the last thing was the cash receipts, the ability to automatically post cash receipts. So I wanted to show you one other thing. Year-end closing. If you're not familiar with this, with year-end closing, you can actually reverse a year-end closing. So let's say you upgrade your system this year, you could actually still go back and reopen all your years in sequence. So for some reason, if you had to go back 3 years, you find out, oh, I have to make an entry. That you can reopen the years back, open the year, make your entry, and reclose the years, and then it'll roll that information forward. And now you have the ability to maintain inactive accounts and with budget amounts. So now closing the year end, there's no fear because you can roll back. And I wanted to just show you this as well. There is a PM all-in-one view. This is a great feature. There's so many features, it's hard to cover it in an hour. So I'm gonna stop short to not give you much time for Q&A, but you can always email us your questions. So here's an example of the purchasing all-in-one viewer. And you can see here's the PO. It shows you the PO and the invoices that were applied there. This is great. This is a great feature. You really like this. And you can see the receipts. So here's the PO. You can drill back into the PO. And you can see the receipt. And then the invoice. In the past, knowing what receipt was applied to what PO, what invoice, and whether it was invoiced or not was close to impossible. It was really difficult. So at any rate, you have that here, and then you also have that for the sales as well. Oh, I'm sorry. That's in GP 2016 has that for the sales. They just, there's some new features in that. So that's the purchasing all-in-one view. And I wanted to show you this auto refresh. Remember I had mentioned earlier about these Excel refreshable reports. Well, I've added one to here. You can actually deploy, one second here. Let me just close that window. And so I've added it here, but this is an example of one of the Excel refreshable reports. This comes with GP. In fact, if you're on GP 2013, you probably already have this. Don't even really know it's there. It's called the financial dashboard. And when you deploy the Excel reports, you'll have this report in here. And this updates automatically. So you can actually deploy this to those Windows devices, or you could deploy this out to a share on your server, and then your management users can go ahead and just open this up if they want to see the information as it changes. As you enter checkbook information, it'll update these values here. You can see this are where the ratios, and this is how it defines it. So you can actually define new mechanisms for these dashboards. So I've gone over the allowable time here, and there's so many features. I could go on for hours showing you these, but I'm going to go ahead then and hand this back to Carolina to take your questions.
Hey everybody. Okay, the Q&A session is open. If you have any questions, submit them via the question panel. It seems that we have one question. Can I add Smart List Builder objects to Smart List Designer?
Yeah, the Smart List Builder objects, some of them can be automatically deployed to the Smart List Designer, but it's imperative that if there's E1 Smart List Builder objects, that you go through and you review those objects to ensure that in advance prior to migrating those to the Smart List Designer. There's some new features in Designer that you might want to include with those objects. I can also provide additional information if you send us an email.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sherry. It seems that we don't have, yes, we have one more question. We currently have GP 2010. To upgrade to GP 2015, do we need to go through GP 2013?
Well, it depends on what version of GP 2010. There's some path indications of different versions that you need to be on to get to another version. I'd be certainly happy to send that. If you provide your email to me, I can send you that pathing information to help you determine if your version can be upgraded directly to GP 2015.
Okay, Samantha, we are going to contact you after the webinar.
Sure.
Regarding your question. And we have another one. Can we have the slides emailed to us? Yes, we are going to email you the slides and the recorded webinar tomorrow or on Monday. Okay? Okay, so thank you, Sherry. Let's move on. Mixed support plans are reliable and consistent support service programs for business running Microsoft Dynamics. Some of our support benefits include support with Microsoft Dynamics products, support with any related third-party add-ons, and fixed rate plans. If you have any doubts, you can contact us at info@mix.com, and remember to write us also if you need a CPE grade. At the end of this webinar, a survey will appear. This survey is designed to help us evaluate and improve our webinars. Please take a few moments to provide us with your feedback. Okay, thank you all for attending. We are going to wait for you on our next webinar. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.